Hi, my name is Caroline Rickerman, and this is my presentation on the Mensa dog. So, Mensa is an international group of people who have received incredibly high scores on IQ tests. Dogs obviously cannot sit down and fill out an IQ test, yet there are still countless other ways that they're able to show how brilliant they are. Because there are so many different aspects to it, intelligence is hard to definitively measure. In humans, you could be book smart, good at math, street smart, have a good memory, be able to read body language like a book. The list goes on and on. Yet an IQ test only tests a fraction of possible skills and is not applicable to animals. So how do we describe intelligence and evaluate it in animals? Dr. Brian Hare, the founder of the study Dognition, believes that intelligence simply depends on what problem you have to solve. In other words, intelligence should be defined as an organism's ability to survive in their environment and overcome the particular problems that come with it. Using this definition, we can compare how different species perform on specific tasks outside their environment, but we can never conclude that one is overall more intelligent than the other, because each species faces a different environment with different problems. So if intelligence is defined by the ability to solve a particular problem, what is it that makes dogs so smart? It is their ability to obtain resources by forming interspecies relationships with humans. Throughout history, the canine species has evolved to understand hand gestures and bits of human communication, hold eye contact, which releases oxytocin in our brains and makes us feel connected to them, associate words to tasks and objects, and pick out a familiar object or person from a group. All of these interpersonal skills, whether they were being used consciously or not, allow the species to survive and become our constant companions. Moving on to learning. How does your dog learn? The ability to win us over may have allowed dogs to survive as a species, but it is certainly not their only talent. Dogs also have an incredible capability for learning. Before you begin training your pup, it is important to understand how they learn. Learning is a multi-step process involving many different interactions in the brain. Consider this example. You simultaneously push your dog's butt to the ground and say sit, and reward him with a piece of chicken. Inside his body, neurons rapidly send out electrical signals from receptors on his tongue, ears, and rear end to the brain. He then realizes that he sat down, got a piece of food, and heard something. The first handful of times you repeat this process, your dog will likely not make the connection between the events. But after repeating the process more, he should realize how to sit on his own. The company Startup Health and psychologist Dean Ware explains that when brain cells communicate frequently, the connection between them strengthens, and the messages that travel the same pathway in the brain over and over begin to transmit faster and faster. With enough repetition, these behaviors become automatic. So don't be frustrated if it takes some time for your dog to learn a new trick. Remember, after each time you practice, the neural pathway for that particular trick will strengthen until they eventually have an automatic response to that command. Now let's talk about training your dog. To start teaching a trick, begin in a distraction-free zone. Come up with a single word cue and hand gesture for the desired behavior. Use the same cue, tone of voice, and hand gesture each time you're telling your dog. When they are first learning, do not give these cues until they have started performing the behavior. Then immediately reward them with a treat, toy, or praise. When continuing training, here are some general things to keep in mind. Once your dog knows the trick, only reward them for it part of the time. Otherwise, they might not do the trick at all if they see that you don't have a treat. If your dog is behaving badly to get your attention, ignoring them will stop the behavior. Always remain calm and patient when training your dog, and remember that you don't have to be dominant over your dog in order to be successful. Instead, think of the relationship as a partnership. Here are my sources, and thanks for watching. It's my dog, Toby.